Hey guys, welcome back in Bangla YT. And after many days after my English become more bad, so sorry for that. And however, let's start. So in this video we'll basically learn about material, that how basically the materials was created, like how we can create the material, basics of material, and how we can basically use them. There's a tons of feature available in a materials, okay, and also codes, so we'll be seeing this video. So let's start. So I already create lots of video about lots of content, like you can find about to AI to vehicle to FPP to there's a tons of video available about in Unreal Engine in 4.2, Unreal Engine 5, even in Unreal Engine preview 5 also, so you can check them all. So now I'm feeling very bored, so that's why I start now creating again the basics, that tutorials, that it will be help you to understand basically Unreal Engine more goodly, okay. So as you can see, this is a world, okay, this is a basic world, and a basic world have a basically a color. So the color is basically in Unreal Engine, it's called the material, okay. So if I show you for this cube, as you can see, this cube have a basically a material. So we can create our own custom material. So the question is yes, the question answer is yes. So now for creating a material, what you can do, we can come in content browser, and inside of any folder we can press right mouse, and here we found the material option. It will be allowed to provide us to create the material for our game. So let's click on material, and now we can basically set up the material name whatever we want, basically because in this game there's maybe 100 or 200 or even 2000 materials available. So for that we can give any of name them. So let's give it name that B1, okay. So that is our basically B1. So if I double click and open, you find like this. So there is a basically input code. So from that, the first option, as you can see, is the base color. That is the main of the color, like what is the color you are seeing right now, that is the basically the base color. For by default it's become black, okay. And if I try to use this thing, okay, in the cube, so for using this I can select, or even I can drag and drop. So as you can see, it's coming a white and dark grid by default of Unreal Engine material, okay, because if there's any none of color available, it will become always this two thing, okay. So the base color is basically the main color. The metallic is basically it will be give you some metallic type finish, okay. This color is kind of like darkness, it will be, you can see more goodly. The roughness is basically the shiningness, like how much shiny it will be control, we can control that with roughness. Then the emulsion color, that is provide you to make this material more bright, like a light or even a spotlight. Then there's opacity option available, but as you can see it's hide, because if you select this thing and from the material domain, from the blend mode, you can change this thing to mask, translucent, edit it, and module. So if you want to enable your opacity, you can set it here to transparent. So there's some metallic, specular, and roughness will be gone, and the opacity will become. So also let's come in by default one, okay. Then you find the normal. The normal is basically give you the details of more goodly, okay. With that, the world position offset is basically used for the wind system. If you are creating a material for your tree, so at that case you can with this value you can basically create a simple wind system. Then the ambient occlusion, okay. I'm telling guys, my English is totally super bad, okay. The ambient occlusion is basically if I show you, but I should show you because with explain with talk I can't show you, but I will show you in practically. So first let's start with basically there's some more option available. If you select this thing, you find here that two-side material. What this thing mean is, some of cases the material only face in the up, okay. Like if I go inside of that cube, as you can see we can't see any material, okay. But if I go now in material and enable the two-side material option, save, and then if I open, as you can see, if I go inside of that, it will become that two-side material. Okay, so basically what it's doing, it will be giving material from these sides and also in each side. So this is kind of like a full ball. Okay, so save them and default. Okay, now let's create a basically just think that you want a color, like you want a random color like red, blue or green. So how you can create in material? For that, you can just right mouse and promote a parameter. With that, you can basically control the color. So as you can see, there's a by default value available. You can pick this thing and you can change the into in RGB. Also you can press on this color, and here you can find the Unreal Engine color picker option. By this you can basically control the color also. Okay, like which color you want. Okay, you can control the brightness. For now, let me select the red one and click on OK. Now save this thing, and as you can see, this is in our red material. Okay, now let's make this thing some more crazy. Like let's make the same material into in a metallic. Like we want that there's a, as you can see, it's a basic like a Minecraft or kind of like a basic. It's a very common. There's nothing. So let's make this thing like a steel body. Like just think this is a metal piece. So how can make this thing like a metal? So for making that, we can add a parameter. So by holding your keyboard 1 and left mouse press, you find here a constant value, and you can give it here the value is 0.8. the maximum value you can input however you want. So if I connect it with the metallic, so as you can see, it's automatically become like a metal. Okay, so let's give it value more 1. So as you can see, it's looking now more metallic. Okay, so let's make this thing shiny. So for create that's a shiny, we can add a one more parameter, and we can connect it with roughness. But in roughness, if you set the value to 0, it will become shiny, and if you set the value to 1, it will become rough. Okay, like that, or you can make it like that if you want a shiny material. Let's click on save, and as you can see, it's a totally a shiny material right now, and it's looking super clear. Also you can play with basically the specular. So if I just give the value to 0.6 and connect it with a specular and save this thing and come in here, as you can see, it's looking more nice. Okay, now you want a, just think that you want right now that it should be like a bright, okay, like it should be become super bright light. So how? So for that, you can add a parameter also, and you can connect it with your emulsion color. You can set the value to 1 to 10, so forget the result. So here if I set it to 10, as you can see, I have now a glow light. Okay, so now there's a lots of thing code available. Like let me show you it now with the texture, like basically how texture used in Unreal Engine material. So basically, if you open a texture, there's a basically a picture. Okay, basically the texture is a kind of like a picture, and the picture have basically the base color and the normal and the roughness. As you can see, if you open the normal, you can see the edge is, we can see very goodly. So that's help us in game that make the details more realistic. The roughness control the brightness, and already you can see the shyness and other stuff with the roughness. Okay, now let's use that. So let's unplug this all stuff and slide them, and let's drag and drop this texture, base, normal and roughness. Okay, so once you drag and drop, you find here the UV option, a RGB, a RGB and a alpha map. Okay, by default every texture have their alpha map, so if you want that alpha map you can connect it from the A. So let's connect it with our RGB with base color. So as you can see, we have right now this. Okay, this is looking nice but not looking super realistic. So for making that realistic, you can add basically the roughness and normal. Save this thing, and as you can see, it's looking now quite and very nice. Okay, if you want to see the difference between the realistic and unrealistic, let's duplicate. So I duplicate with Ctrl plus W, and let's make another cubed here. Make this smaller. Up. Let's make like that. Okay, so there's a basically 2 cube. So let's give this one, and let's remove from him the roughness and normal. Click on save. So I guess you can see the between difference of these two things. It's looking some more like a image, but these details looking very nice. Okay, so as you can see, only a normal it's make this thing a very more nice. Okay, that is the power of the normal and the roughness. This rock looking more realistic if we compare with this thing. Okay, now if you want to change the color this texture, how you can do, like as you can see, this is already a image. So if you want that it can be a white or blue effects, so how you can do, if you want to make that in Unreal Engine, there's an option available that is multiply. There's a kind of like a math, you can basically multiply with any of parameter color. So like if I want that like that, I want this texture in a red color, so I can do also from the base color also like that. If I have the normal one, so save, as you can see I have this same thing in a normal, because the normal giving the details and the roughness. Now if I connected this thing with A and B and the output with base color, so as you can see the rock looking more realistic, and also I get a red effect. Okay, that was basically the only for a with a one value. Okay, now just think that you want to blend two materials in a one material, like you want there's a two material kind of like color grading. How you can do that? So for color grading, what you can do, from the material parameter you can search here that gradient, and here you find that linear gradient. So just unplug this thing, and you find that a U and V. The U give you like left to right, and the V give you upside down effect. Also for executing this we need a lip, the linear, this one, so we can connect it with the alpha. So let's give it to like that, and let's do the same thing in some other colors. So but make sure if you duplicate like this thing, okay, it will be only duplicating this material. Okay, but the name is same, so it will be basically affecting your whole material, because both will be changed automatically because they are the same name. So what you can do, you can write here some others, so it will be now become separate from this one. So if you change like this right now, it will be there's no effect will become, there's no issue will become. So let's make this thing red, and not red, it's the red not looking, I guess it's, yeah, now it's looking red. And let's give this thing in a yellow or even purple, and we can get the multiply with duplicate Ctrl plus W, connected A and B, and let's connect it B and A, and now let's connect this thing with base color. So now as you can see, as I said, if you set up the U is basically come like left to right. Okay, and if I connect this thing in a V, it will become up down, as you can see like that. So if I open like this thing, as you can see, it's become color gradient. That's why you can basically create a color gradient in Unreal Engine. You can use the same method for create the stylized grass and some others cool material. So now let's learn something more crazy, like if I show you, if you can change the tiling is basically as you can see the grid. Okay, so just think that I just make like this thing. Okay, so the tiling become very straight. The sides are okay, but the up one is not okay. This is the problem of basically the cube. But just think, you have like this a whole world. If I set up in this whole world, as you can see, it's not looking super great because this is a material. So let's give this thing in a basically his default one. That let's unplug this thing and connect it with his default one, and now let's drag and drop at here. Okay, so as you can see, this is looking like that. So now if you want, you can make this thing some more bigger or smaller even. So for make this smaller and bigger, what you can do, you can add the texture coordinate. From the UV, you can search the TEX, and here you find texture coordinate. By this thing, you can basically make this thing, you can basically change the tiling, like how much smaller you give, it will become big, and how much big value you give here, like more than 1 to 2, it will become more smaller. So let's give it that 2 by 0.2 by 0.2, and as you can see, it's become super big. Okay, if I change this thing in a 3 by 3 and save this thing, so as you can see, it's become more smaller. But as you can see, because it's only affecting in the base color, it's not affecting the roughness and even normal. So what you need to do, you need to connect it with your roughness and also the UV is normal, so all the effect will be work same. So as you can see, it's become now more smaller. Okay, that's why basically at this method you can basically create you can basically make your tiling. Okay, now let's learn one more thing. If you want the macro variation, how you can create the macro variation is basically used for the open world game, kind of like why you are using the base color. Like if I show you, maybe I have some pack. Okay, I have this grassy texture. Wait, let me landscape. Yep, so let me take these two texture. Let's send them into base color. And let's also select this one. Okay, so maybe I don't need this one, so I'm deleting this. Oh yeah, I don't need this, so let's delete. Oh, I don't want to delete. Let me just basically change them into landscape texture. Okay, so let's use this thing right now at here. So let's create one more material, and now in one more material we can change here. We can select this thing, and from at here we can basically drag and drop. So as you can see, unfortunately we don't have any roughness. So if we don't have any roughness, what you can do, we can basically duplicate this thing and we can use the R as a roughness. It's looking shiny. Let's use the G one. It's also looking very, let's use the blue. So as you can see, it's like a kind of like a water effect come, but let's use this one. I like this one maybe. Yep, as you can see, it's looking super great. Okay, so as you can see, if I check from the very up view, it's looking very bad, like there's everything like a tiling. So if we want to fix this thing, and let's make this thing some macro variation. So for adding macro variation, you can add the t dot macro, or from that texture you can duplicate, and inside of that you can search the macro. So inside of that you find there's some macro variation is available. So let's use this one, and let's use another macro. And here's a two, basically there's a two macro variation. Okay, so we have basically the macro variation. So how you can use the macro variation? So basically you can use with macro like a add, and with that add you can add a parameter value for controlling that how much variation you want, and with that you can basically multiply. Okay, so for that multiply, what you need to do, you need to multiply with your base and your normal and with everything. Okay, so if I show you, like from the base, then you can annotate with your base color. So as you can see, there's a variation come. If I play, as you can see, there's some variation has been come. Okay, so for making this thing some randomized, we can use the texture coordinate at here. So let's use the texture coordinate, and also you can use this thing in a, because you already add a parameter for controlling the macro, so you can control from that. So you can add a minimum to 3 to 0.1. so save this thing, and as you can see, you find now more better macro variation. Isn't this great? Okay, like if I show you, as you can see, it's looking more great. Also you can make it to like a 30. Let's give that 30. Let's see what kind of effect come. So there's a, as you can see, it's become very big. Make sure it's also depend on your texture coordinate. If you use the basically this high value, like as you did 0.5 to 0.5, and I've connected with this thing, and as you can see, it's become more great. Okay, if I now see from up, it's looking more great. So basically that's why you can basically make your macro variation in Unreal Engine. Okay, now I already create, basically here we learn about the macro variation. Okay, like from that, so let's remove this thing, this code, and we learn about texture coordinate. We learn the here, we learned here some parameter value. Okay, now just think, you want there's a one material but they're using for same. Okay, like you want to just, some of cases you want to change the value of a specular or the tiling. So what you can do, you can basically double click and open, and you can right mouse, create a material instance. With that, basically this thing is will be allow you to basically play with this value. Okay, so for controlling that, you must need to give here the parameter, the option. So let's give it that macro name. And also if you want to use this thing, like you can change the texture anytime. Like here you can see there's a no texture enable option, but if you want that, you can change here to texture. What you can do, you can set here right mouse and convert to a parameter, and you can give the parameter name, that is, let's give the base texture. So save this thing, and if you go your material instance saved, you can see there your base texture has been come. So it's mean that now with this material instance, if you use this material instance, any of time you can change your macro variation within real time without opening the main the master material and change them every time. So if I add instead the material instance, so now I can basically control the macro. Like let's give the macro to 1. Okay, let's give to 10. Okay, let's give to 0.1. Okay, so as you can see, we can control. Even I can change the texture into some other texture. Okay, within a one single texture I can control this thing. Okay, isn't this is great? Also you can do the same thing for your this material. Even you can create them into parameter. If you create anything in a parameter, you can use this thing at share. Okay, so I guess you understand lots of things from this video. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and love you all, and see you in next video.